Hi, everyone. Welcome to another VanHack Talent Success Case interview. My name is Ilya, and today I'm really excited to be joined by Sarah Jung from Bench Accounting, who is a company, or that is a company that's hired 3 VanHackers, and she's here to share the story of how that happened. Sarah, welcome, and how are you doing?
Good. Thank you for the introduction. Great to be here.
Yeah, cool. So do you mind just quickly telling us a little about yourself and Bench?
Yeah, sure. So a little intro to myself. Like you said, my name's Sarah, and I am the recruitment team lead here at Bench, or one of the recruitment team leads, that leads the product and technology team as well as our corporate departments. And I've been here for just under 4 years now, and kind of been with the recruitment team for the past 3 years or so. So a little bit about the company and Bench as a whole. So essentially, we are a software as a service company. The product that we offer is bookkeeping. So we provide a bookkeeping service to small to medium-sized business owners that are all located in the States. And so the end product that every client typically receives is kind of like a year-end financial package that puts away all of their bookkeeping, their monthly bookkeeping, neatly in a package at the end of the year. And then from there, the clients are able to kind of submit their bookkeeping to their CPA or their their lawyers to kind of file the taxes for them. And then we also provide tax services on top of that if that is not something that they have handy for them. And then of course, on top of that, there are kind of different levels of innovation and like partnerships that we're also working through. So tax services is definitely one of them. We're working on a banking service. And then of course that opens up a lot of doors for just different financial services kind of down the route.
Very cool. Yeah, I could see that. Offering different products, if you know the company's numbers, right? Who better to assess, maybe a loan or something like that. Very cool. And just also, can you give us a scope of like the status of Bench, like how many people, what's kind of the size of the company?
Yeah. So currently, we just successfully had our Series C funding, and we are currently at, I want to say, about 630-ish employees.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's grown quite a bit, because when I started, I think we were at like 250 or just below that or something like that. So it's been a lot of growth over the past couple of years.
Yeah, wow, almost 4 times bigger 4 years later.
Yeah.
That's exciting. Cool. Well, let's talk about tech hiring, because that's the focus here. And so what kind of maybe a little bit of a background on like your tech team, how hiring has been kind of previous to VanHack, and what made you want to just give VanHack a try?
Yeah. Well, so COVID really changed a lot of things for us. So I'm going to kind of take us back to pre-COVID, and kind of, because I would say that like VanHack and myself had a relationship before COVID as well. So we were definitely working with VanHack prior to COVID hitting, and we really wanted to focus our efforts on DEI. We wanted to be able to provide, newcomers to Canada, immigrants, like a fresh chance. And there's no better, pool of candidates than people from all over the world that want to come and move to Canada. So I think that was like the biggest draw for us when it came to like actually making a decision to partner with you. And I think, honestly, looking back, one of the initial really big draws were just being able to even to attend those events that you hosted for free for employers, and then just having that kind of support system. If you are successful, these are the steps that you kind of take throughout the interview process. And then if you're successful with this candidate, then we kind of move forward into the costs and the T's and C's and what have you. But that was one of the biggest, draws that we wanted to partner with VanHack. However, I would say pre-COVID, we weren't super successful in finding any candidates. And I think looking back and like upon reflection, like obviously, almost 2 years later, a lot of it, I think, also could have come from like perhaps our teams weren't exactly ready for like a fully remote, or someone just with the complications of sometimes getting someone to actually immigrate over here. There's like time constraints. Obviously, our teams wanted people to kind of come and join us a little bit faster. And I think our teams were a little bit more of like in a desperate need to have someone hired faster and be able to start sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
But then with COVID coming, that obviously shifted how people work and what that looked like and what remote work looked like, where it's just really propelled, I think, the entire, like world to basically be able to shift their thinking around that.
Yeah.
And so with that came obviously full-time remote work, and our teams were much more supported and like felt better prepared, I think, to be able to, like, after a couple months of leaning into this and being fully remote, our teams were able to take on and practice like training people remotely, like being able to onboard someone remotely, things that were not necessarily stuff that we were doing all the time prior to COVID.
Yeah.
So then since then, which takes us to now, we've obviously continued our relationship and we've continued to hire people, and we've had 3 in total successful hires from VanHack, 2 of whom we found through the VanHack event last year.
Yeah.
And then 1 of whom that we just found kind of through, I think, one of your recruiters as well, that generally just applied to the role. And since then, like, it's been obviously such a success for us. Like, I think that event in itself, to find 2 strong, solid candidates who are also like women of color that, like, we want to be able to bring onto our teams and be able to provide this like representation and diverse way of thinking and be able to kind of just add so much value to our teams. Like, obviously those are huge wins for us. And so I think since then, we've had them join us remotely first, before they have gone on to actually just because of COVID, I think there's been some time struggles with obviously making the flight over to here. But that's kind of their end goal. So we're able to hire them on as like contractors first, and then working remotely, and then soon to be they'll be in Canada and be a full-time employee as well with us. So we've had a lot of success. My long-winded answer to say we loved the events and they were very successful for us.
No, that's great. A lot of really good details. I think a lot of important nuggets. That transition from pre-COVID to post-COVID, huge change in the way we work. And yeah, let's maybe dive deeper on that event where you were able to make the 2 hires. I think one of the things that you did well as a company was kind of move fast on those. Can you maybe talk about like how the process was, and kind of what made you want to just jump on these 2 great candidates right away?
Yeah, sure. So I think during the events, we only talk with them for about like 5 minutes. And then you have the option to extend that time. So I remember for these 2 particular candidates, like I kept on extending the time because I was like, well, I'm having a great conversation with you and I still wanted to dig into all the things. And what that also gave me a chance to do was essentially remove, like, basically I had the recruiter interview with them right then and there, right? Which normally is like a 30 to 45 minute chat, but I was able to kind of condense that down during the event to like 10, 15 minutes or so. And then right from there, because I knew, okay, these are great candidates, they fit our technical skills, they look like they're going to be amazing culture additions to our teams, I'm able to progress them right away into the next interview stages. So at the time, for us, that was a technical interview, a coding test to be sent out, a take-home assignment, and then a team interview, a final team interview that's about 3 hours long, where they get a chance to kind of talk about their coding test as well as dive into other kind of components of the bench tech team. And then a decision is made typically, and then the offer is made out. So that's kind of, I think, for us, where the event came in really handy for us, is that we were able to kind of cut down on the back and forth of, okay, so great, we had a great 30 to 45 minute interview chat where I had to schedule you into my calendar. And then from there, I have to send out another email and say, when is the next date available for you? When can we schedule you in for that next stage? Where I was able to just kind of directly communicate to them in that conversation and say, hey, I had a great conversation with you. Like, let's move you forward to the next stage. And I could just schedule that in right away, as opposed to all of that back and forth.
Yeah, that probably saves you like, I don't know, a week, maybe 2-3 days, especially if it's like over a weekend. And so yeah, it's funny, just like a little aside, one of the biggest challenges that we see through hundreds of companies hiring through us is just like the challenge of scheduling a meeting and booking an interview together with time zones and everything, and the hiring managers on vacation, etc. So I think anytime you can you can speed things up like that, it does make a difference, as well as with candidates who are, so in demand, right? Like, as a company, your bar is high, so therefore these candidates probably are speaking and having good success with other interviews, with other employers. So that's really cool to hear. And do you mind also talking a little bit about, like, now that they've joined the team, like, how has that been? Have you heard any feedback? I know one of our candidates, Wilson, is now interviewing others. Like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So from my knowledge, everything is going super smoothly. Because we did onboard them remotely as well. Like, obviously there's a little bit of a conversation that has to take place around kind of working hours and the flexibility that's potentially needed, just so that there's a little bit of overlap, at least in the beginning stages when you are onboarding and kind of getting up to speed. But beyond that, honestly, like, it's been so wonderful having them on the team. Like you said, Wilson, who is one of the employees that we were able to hire from VanHack, is now, like, within like week 2, I think he was interviewing for other engineers as well. So and he had a really cool, like, background experience, or previous, like, work experience, where he was basically in charge of, like, the entire interviewing process as well. And I remember that piece, like, actually he was talking to me directly about that in, our recruiter interviews. And so it was really interesting to now be able to, like, apply some of his previous work experience to actually our work experience, and, like, be able to kind of gain from his perspective, like, what are the things that he looks for when he's doing interviews, and kind of learn from, it's like a vice versa learning experience, right? We get to learn from him, he gets to learn from us as well. So yeah, within like week 2, he was quickly taken a part of the interview team.
Like, how you say, it's culture add.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, great. And then one more kind of last question, or two questions, but second last question is, how do you feel like it was in terms of, like, speed, offer acceptance? Like, was there a noticeable difference between kind of local candidates and the candidates that VanHack was able to provide?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I would say from an internal perspective, our offer process at the time was still the same as, like, from a local candidate as opposed to someone remote. So we're going through the same steps. But I will say that I think that what the candidates were able to offer is, like, so much more enthusiasm, which I'm not too sure. Like, I would say, I'm not sure if this really answers your question.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. Yeah.
But yeah, it's, I think there is a level of, like, goodwill and, like, like, faith that is being given to, like, from the candidate as well as from the company itself. Like, we're supporting them with VanHack's help, as well as, like, in terms of, like, immigration. Like, that's a huge move. Like, you're uprooting your entire life and the families that you have or may have attached to you. Like, that's a huge move. And so being able to kind of provide that opportunity for some of these candidates is a huge thing. And I feel like that allows you to kind of have this sort of, like, goodwill with them. And, they just are so excited. Like, their enthusiasm is through the roof because of, like, the weight that it actually carries, right? Like, the job offer actually means that they can uproot and they can do this huge life change. And it's very exciting to take a part of, like, from my perspective, and just being able to, like, kind of support them through that. Like, that's the super exciting thing about hiring people that are kind of, immigrating all the way over to Canada from wherever they may be. And then also being so appreciative of the fact that, the weight of the job offer is just so much more heavy than a local candidate. Not to say that it's not, like, worth the same, but it is just, like, the weight of it is a little bit different. And so you can really appreciate just, like, the enthusiasm that a candidate may give when you're giving that kind of offer call, and, like, just hearing the acceptance and everything.
Yeah, we hear a lot of stories. One funny story that comes to mind is one of our recruiters called one of our a VanHacker, and while he was driving, and he had to pull over because he got so excited he couldn't drive.
Yeah, I could see that.
Another cool thing with Pooja, actually, is her husband got hired at another Vancouver company. I think last week or the week after, or the week before, pretty recently. Yeah, so.
Okay, gotcha.
because she got the job, he gets an open work permit, and so that other company was
Right.
able to hire him, and he's on his way here. So it kind of was a
Yeah,
double
yeah.
win there. Cool. Awesome. And then last question is like, what tips do you have for other recruiters, HR leaders, people in general thinking about hiring from abroad, that maybe you wish you knew before you start the process?
Yeah, I think, for us, I think we were particularly lucky in the sense that we do have like in-house legal counsel that kind of supports, and like a really strong like HR team that did really support me in terms of just getting like the contracts over and being able to kind of maneuver that.
Mm-hmm.
And because it was such a like a newer thing for me, being able to hire globally, there's a lot of just kind of like stuff that goes behind the scenes when it comes to writing a contract and the implications of that looking back, I would say I wish I had spent a little bit more time understanding all of those details the first time. That way it makes it a much more quicker and efficient process as you move forward, and as you like try and hire more people, it only gets easier. So it's kind of like the first time might be a little bit of a hurdle, but the more time you spend kind of thoroughly understanding all those details, like the easier it becomes, and the more like efficient you'll be at getting through it as you hire more and more people. So I don't know if that's really a tip, but
it's good to know, right? Because I think it is intimidating at first for people, and the fact that like maybe the first time is a little bit more complicated. There might be a few more things the government asks, but once you get set up on the system, you're almost like pre-approved for future hires, and it does get easier. So it's a good thing to know. Sarah, I said last question, but just last one very quickly. Do you recommend VanHack for other companies? Any kind of final words there?
Yes, without a doubt. I recommend VanHack. 12 out of 10.
Cool. We'll cut that clip and make it go viral.
Just that one.
Thanks, Sarah. This was really fun. Really appreciate it. And look forward to continue working together for a long time.
Yes, so, for sure. Thanks, Ilya.
Thanks.